Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast, where we drink and talk about movies from 2007.
Imagine my little girl, Regular.
Guys, did you see me dance?
No, you waste energy and time.
I turned penis into gold.
Are you okay?
I want to see you naked.
Surprise, dude, you got herpes.
If I did you a ventriloquist.
You're really well dressed for a shadow puppeteer.
What is he going to culturally appropriate this time?
My man.
I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
Welcome back to another episode of I Drink Your Podcast. With me today is Ben.
Hey!
Emily.
Hello!
And Wesley.
Hi.
All right. Love the enthusiasm.
Ben stepped on my shit.
He's still his shit. Okay, and joining us this week are our special guests from the podcast National Treasure Hunt, Aubrey and Emily. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. We're really excited to be here. I'm Aubrey.
I'm Emily, and I'm super, super excited.
Welcome to the show, guys. We're excited to have you. And, before we get started, does anyone have anything interesting in their glass today?
I do. I made a Gold Rush cocktail, which is bourbon, some honey syrup, and fresh lemon juice, and the biggest lemon wedge I could possibly cut.
So where's the gold in it?
Do you look at the color of it?
It's very beautiful. Is it the honey? Okay, it's the honey.
It's the honey.
And
It's
the
the
lemon.
honey.
I get it.
I mean, the bourbon, too.
Wesley, I'm also on a bourbon kick right now. I went with a mint julep because it felt so presidential at Mount Vernon for the president's birthday. So I was trying to find a treasure hunty kind of drink, but I went with fancy presidential mint julep.
Yes. I was going to have whiskey and water because that's what John Wilkes Booth drank before he shot Lincoln. But I don't like whiskey, so I went with just a gin and Sprite, baby.
Yum.
Oh, man. Well, I am way more boring and way less creative than y'all, but I'm calling back to the portion of the film that's shot in Great Britain, and I'm drinking tea tonight. So
I love it.
God save the Queen.
Yeah, perfect.
I tried to go a little tangential with my drink choice, and I chose some spiced rum right out of the bottle.
Oh, hell
There you
yeah.
go.
Because pirates and treasure hunts, I feel like, always go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
We hear you recorded Pirates of the Caribbean recently, so
We did.
Emily's just getting on your level.
Yeah, I didn't have anything as great of a tie-in as that, but I am also drinking rum and Diet Coke. And I was going to say I got it out of a fancy compartment out of my desk.
Oh, wow. Did you have to solve a puzzle to get to it?
I wish. Oh, my gosh.
Puzzle or it didn't happen.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so Emily and Aubrey, what were you guys up to in 2007?
I think we were both in 8th grade. So, fun middle school stuff. And I guess also fun starting high school stuff.
Yeah, I was probably taking a tour of my future high school around this time, getting ready for all that, being a band geek in middle school, and continuing to be in high school.
What did you play?
Yes.
In the band, I play the flute.
Hey, me too. Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow. You guys have the same name and already are so
Wait,
similar.
do you also play the piccolo?
No, I switched to bassoon because I was fancy like that.
The connection's gone.
This feels like a Bizarro situation. Which one of you is the evil one?
Oh, it's definitely
Yeah,
me.
we all know it.
We all know
Yeah.
it is, yeah.
I do like this game, though, and I hope it continues throughout the podcast of both Emily's trying to figure out what else they have in common.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to know, Emily and Aubrey, were you into any treasure hunts when you were in 2007 era or into any sort of movies at the time?
Yeah, I want to know. Yeah, movies, for sure.
This is too stereotypical, I guess, but I have always been a big National Treasure fan. So I was there at the theater when Book of Secrets came out. It's actually a family tradition. We would go on Christmas to see a new movie together, and both National Treasures fell into that category for us. So that was the extent of my treasure hunting repertoire at the time.
Nice.
Yeah, my treasure hunting escapades were about on that level as well. I went to the movie theater with a friend at the time who I'd also seen the first movie with. And we made a pact that we were going to see all the movies together, but I don't know what she's doing with her life right now. So we probably won't see the third one together.
Hopefully you'll have to find out real soon. I mean, fingers crossed on our end. We'll see what y'all think of the film, but
but you're hoping for more at least.
Oh, goodness, yeah. We are all on the National Treasure 3 train, and they say they're making a TV show inspired by the franchise too. So
let's go.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
Tell us a little bit about your show. I think that leads into it a little bit.
Yeah, I can't think of a better introduction. So Emily and I are the two-person co-host team behind the National Treasure Hunt podcast, which, like it sounds, is all about the National Treasure franchise. So we took what y'all are doing, which is super unique in 1 year of film, and we are distilling it to 2 movies at this point for all of our episodes. So Emily and I were college roommates back in, when were we in college, Emily?
2011 and 2015.
There you go. We were roommates at Ursinus College, and there was actually a big joke between us and all of our friends that we had absolutely nothing in common. But we learned fairly quickly that the one thing we did have in common was a love of the National Treasure movies. And so we bonded over that.
I love it.
Yeah. And, we had some other things in common. We're both scientists, for instance, but this was really what brought us together. And 5 years after we graduated, 2020, we're both looking for something fun to do to reconnect, but also get us through quarantine. And that's how National Treasure Hunt was born. So
thanks, COVID.
Yeah, right? You gotta make lemonade out of lemons, right?
That's right.
So in our show, which is every other week we release new episodes, we do everything from giving commentary on the films to deep diving into the historical points presented in the films, what's true, what's false, what's based on reality but has some liberties taken, how it was produced, science in the films, music in the films, ethics in the films. Basically every avenue or niche area you can think of, we try to talk about it on National Treasure Hunt.
And we've gotten the distinct pleasure of being able to speak to one of the executive producers and story writers of the film, Charles Seegers, on the podcast. And we hope to have him back this season. So hopefully he might bring a friend of his along to
Nick Cage?
The episode.
Oh, my.
We're trying to land Nick Cage somehow.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm pulling for you.
Nick Cage, if you're listening to this podcast, get on National Treasure Hunt.
I would lose my shit. Let's get one thing straight.
So would he.
It would be tough to have like a good conversation with him without fawning over him, I think. He's been in everything. He's so awesome.
Absolutely. I have no chill when it comes to anyone who's even remotely famous. I don't even have to like them that much. So someone like him, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's Vinny from the Jersey Shore. I'm kidding.
I mean, you're kind of right, though. I am from New Jersey as well, so I've had opportunities, I'm sure, to run into that one. But
okay, well, I'm excited for you guys to be on the show. And if anybody hasn't listened to our podcast before, the first half will be discussing and reviewing National Treasure 2. In the second half, we'll feature our Battle of Twits, a creative competition, this week featuring me and Ben again. And our current leaderboard is Wes at 6, Ben at 6. The guests are at 3, I'm at 2, and Emily's at 0. Let's talk about National Treasure 2. So this was directed by John Turteltaub, featuring Nicolas Cage, Justin Bartha, Diane Kruger, Ed Harris, and John Boyd.
And what now? You decided you don't need it.
You're the one who's making a scene right now.
I'm not making a scene right now.
No, we want to make a scene.
Well, then fine! If that's what you want, then let's have it out right now.
So subtle.
Oh, let me guess. It's the wrong time. It's the wrong place. I'm wrong again. Wrong about us. Wrong about Thomas Gates. Wrong that you'd like the Queen Anne chair.
After Ben Gates, played by Nicolas Cage, family name is tarnished by Mitch Wilkinson, played by Ed Harris. By linking Thomas Gates as a mastermind behind Lincoln's assassination, Ben decides to prove his great-grandfather's innocence. With the help of his ex-girlfriend Abigail and his friend Riley, they learn through spectral imaging that there is a cipher pointing towards Oh, God. Edward Labaud. Let's just leave it in, right, folks? On John Wilkes' booth diary page, Ben and Riley figure out the next clue in Paris on a Statue of Liberty, the one and only. Go to Buckingham Palace and find the next clue inside the Queen's desk with Abigail's help. Wow.
Specifically, it's not the one and only because there are 3 of them, as they mentioned in the movie.
That's why you don't get paid to ad-lib, you piece of shit.
This is the one in Paris because this movie decides it's going to go international with its treasure hunt. No longer is it just limited to American history. We're pushing out and expanding the horizons.
Yeah, fuck the national part of National Treasure.
They realize really quickly, I think, that they're much better at the American history component, which is probably why they spend all of 5 seconds in Europe.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, but those 5 seconds are so much fun. When Nick Cage goes full Nick Cage, come on.
You mean in Buckingham Palace when he screams haggis?
And he starts singing about the lovely coconuts. Yeah, that was
the eels and jelly and all sorts of different British food. Yeah, that was probably my favorite part of this when I realized, oh, Nick Cage is going to go full Nick Cage. Like this is a Nick Cage movie. This isn't National Treasure 1.
So we've all seen the first National Treasure, right?
Well, Emily and I have.
Well, I didn't rewatch it before I watched National Treasure 2, but I remember really liking the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Are we all in agreement that the first one was pretty dope?
Yeah.
I like
it.
Yeah.
Sean Bean, baby.
You could call it a cult classic. Some could, the way it's brought up in meme culture and
100%.
in holidays.
Get rid of the word cult. It's a classic. That first National Treasure is really good. And the reason it's so good is because the pace of that first movie is very different from the pace of this one, where it's literally balls to the walls of puzzles in that first one. And this one has the problem of it's got to pick up a world that's already been established and rebuild it to get us onto this treasure hunt. And the first 15 to 20 minutes of this movie just don't really work very well, in my opinion.
Right. And I totally agree with you, Ben. The whole premise of Thomas Gates being involved with Lincoln's assassination really lost me right from the beginning and maybe it's because I missed something in National Treasure 1, but I felt so lost and confused in the beginning.
Well, I already sense another similarity between the Emilys because I know my Emily feels that way.
I was going to say, I don't have a very good memory of things that have happened in the film. So I, too, was very lost at the beginning and the middle and kind of the end of the film as well. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, but I had to have Aubrey explain it to me.
And I guess one of the problems for me is the leap in the first one, his great relative was part of this Templar situation and was given the code to crack the initial clue. Now there's another person within this person's family who is also involved in the Lincoln assassination. Like, so many leaps have to be taken to accept that this family is basically part of every major moment in history for all of the nation.
One of the things that I have actually grown to appreciate about them is there's a lot of consistency and there are a lot of pieces of the characters, etc., that are very deliberate and play a role in progressing the story along. So what we do learn in the first film that basically ever since The Secret Lies with Charlotte, the family has been on this treasure hunt. And somehow it's Nick Cage. It's the most brilliant of them all who can finally solve the clues. That, I think, is how they're trying to justify these massive leaps, which I agree are leaps. But at least it's self-consistent. The family's been in on this hunt for centuries, I guess.
That's true.
Yeah, and as in any movie like this that fictionalizes a lot of historical events and stuff, like there's tons of leaps you need to make. Every desk being basically a cipher in a locking secret compartment mechanism, and I mean that's just one element I'm thinking of.
It's 2 desks that were designed to do that. Like
every desk, Ben.
Okay.
Every desk you interact with for the rest of your life, I hope you're laying underneath of it and fiddling with the drawers, because if you're not, then I feel like you haven't grasped the beauty and the goal of this film.
I do want to know, Emily and Aubrey, both of your opinions, especially in the beginning, the first act here. The different leaps that were there, especially when they were solving puzzles, they didn't feel as authentic to me as in the first movie. And again, it just might be my long, terrible memory. But when they first were trying to figure out the 5-letter, when they're trying to think of the word death, it just seemed like things came to them so quickly. And it didn't seem very logical, or it didn't seem like I was actually following like I was in the first movie, where I was like, oh yeah, I can be a part of this and I can kind of guess too. But it didn't seem like that at all.
This movie just felt 100% of the time like it was mansplaining everything about history, conspiracy theories, and puzzles to me. So yeah, I agree with Em, and I would love to hear Emily and Aubrey's opinions.
I'm actually really glad that you brought this up, because it's fun to see what we see reflected in other people who watch these films so much less than we do. We have an episode coming up where we really compare in depth the 2 films. And one of the things that we spend a lot of time talking about is the structural differences in terms of the action. And Ben, I think you brought up the difference in terms of, we're all in on the action from the first moment in the first film, whereas in the second one, there's definitely more of a rising action. You never really feel like you completely hit a climax either, at least in my opinion. But one of the other things we comment on, Em, is the fact that the puzzles feel less challenging in the second film.
Yes.
It almost feels like the puzzle itself is accessing the clues. So, for example, they have to figure out strategic ways to get to the desk in Buckingham Palace or in the Oval Office. But once they get there, they can get into the desk and find the clue like no problem.
And they know exactly what it means.
Right. Exactly what it means imminently. Or there's, French policemen there to translate for them very conveniently.
So that scene where they're talking to the French guards, and it's after Nicolas Cage's character has gotten the clue and he's deciphering that, he does the same kind of like outward internal dialogue where he's just kind of talking to himself, trying to work through the puzzle like he does on the Charlotte in the first one. And he'll say something and then immediately be like, no, that's not it. It's like nobody talks like that or works through shit like that, where you're just like, no, that's not it. It felt so quick, like it was wanted to just gloss over the puzzle and get us to a new location.
Well, I would like to point out that one of my favorite things about these movies is their quotes. And there is a quote, granted it's in the first movie, but it's "no one talks like that anymore." And it's in reference to Nick Cage's character. So I would say that no one does talk like that. That's
it correct. Comes up in the second movie too. The president of the United States basically tells him that as well. It's one of those conserved motifs. It's a character trait, if you will.
Before we continue, I do want to ask a little bit about how you all felt about the side characters, specifically Abigail and Riley, and their role versus the first movie.
I want to know, how come nobody read Riley's book?
Matt, I wouldn't read a book if you wrote it.
That's fucked up. A published book, you would say no, and I sent you a copy?
Matt,
oh, man.
If you wrote a book about 2007 movies after we did 2 years of 2007 movies as a podcast, I wouldn't read that book either. Why would they read a book about events that they lived?
I barely listen to this podcast after we record it.
Point taken, guys.
I feel like no one reads Riley's book because plot, guys. I mean, it needs to be a surprise when they actually have to find the answer to a clue in Riley's book. So plot.
Right. They have to have him be important somehow besides the technical pieces.
Yeah, and I feel like his character is, in both movies, he is taken for granted more.
Yeah.
I feel like than he necessarily should be. I say this as a Riley lover myself, who just wants to see him recognized and be happy. But in both films, they don't do a great job of really recognizing when Riley has something important to say. So I feel like that's almost a character trait of his that's kind of transferred into these movies too. Like, why would any of these characters actually read this book? Because they don't take him seriously.
Yeah.
Riley solves a puzzle happens in like the exact same point in both movies. It feels like they had like a skeleton of like, we're just going to make sure that we hit all the same points we did in the firm. We need Ben Gates to say, I'm going to do something outrageous.
Yep.
So then the next act can start.
Ben, you think the same way that I do. All these sorts of structural similarities. The Buckingham Palace scene is also an exactly conserved motif from the gala scene in the first National Treasure, where you have Riley in Ben's ear talking to him through an earpiece, and he has an unexpected interaction with Abigail. And
yes!
And then that's also where Ben has his most Nick Cage moment in both movies. The entrails cut out and burned in the first movie, and then haggis in the second movie. It's entirely conserved. So I think you're right. There's definitely a skeleton framework. I, as a fan, look at it as, oh, what a cute little nod, hat tip to the first movie. But I can see how you would interpret it otherwise.
Right.
Yeah. What about the antagonist as well? So we talked on Abigail and Riley, but it feels like the antagonists were almost exactly the same as well. But it's been a while since I've seen the first one, so I'd love your take on it.
Mitch feels like he has personal stake, at least in this. It's not like Sean Bean's character where it's just, I want money. This feels like a personal vendetta or some sort of family legacy thing that he's trying to work through.
Oh, I love Emily's face right now.
I know, we're so excited.
So I went, as Aubrey said, this will be spoilers if any of people who are going to come listen to our podcast or currently do listen to this. For the episode that's coming out where we compare the first two movies with one another. But I went hard on the comparison of the villains because I love Sean Bean and I really don't like Ed Harris, at least in this role.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it's very different in the sense that Sean Bean's character, I'm forgetting his name, surprise there. Sean Bean's character is like friends with Ben Gates and kind of
the double cross.
Yeah, the double cross, exactly. Whereas this other dude, Mitch Wilkinson, is just kind of like, he just kind of like pops up in the middle of a seminar and it's just like, hey, look at this cool diary page. And it's like unclear whether he wants to like clear his family name or whether he wants to just get famous. It confuses me a lot and it bothers me a lot about this particular villain.
I feel very in line with Emily's points here in that I absolutely am enraged by Mitch Wilkinson's motive and the fact that he literally isn't doing anything throughout the film to get to the treasure. He's literally just, his skill was sending a henchman to clone a phone so that he could hear everything that was going on. There's absolutely nothing that he does in terms of being deserving. And so when we get later into the movie, I actually want to ask all of you guys if you think Mitch deserves credit for finding the treasure, which, spoiler alert, he will end up getting some credit for it. But in terms of the villain structure, it's well noted that, you know, the irony of, well, in the first film, it's a Revolutionary War history piece and the villain is British. And in the second film, it's a Civil War history piece and the villain is Southern. And so we get that.
Did Emily just realize that for the first time?
We said that when we recorded a few weeks ago.
What? This is brand new information to me. That is so cool.
This is good. This is good stuff.
The book known only to our presidents. It contains all of our nation's secrets.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
I saw the seal in the desk, sir. I know the map exists.
Once they leave Buckingham Palace, they learn that Mitch is after the treasure and narrowly avoid being killed by giving him the clue. But they get a picture of it, so they're both on the same page. Ben and his father ask Dr. Emily, his mom, to translate the Native American glyphs, and they learn that there is a second part of it hidden in the Oval Office. Although after sneaking in, it's not there, leading them to believe the president's Book of Secrets is real and has the clue. They kidnap the president and convince him to help them by telling him where the Book of Secrets is.
I have such a huge problem with this whole kidnapping the president thing.
What?
Because, like, honestly, they were saying that he kidnapped him, but I don't really understand. Like, he wasn't being held against his will whatsoever.
This is another one of my strong feelings about this movie that I like to yell about. And that is the fact that, again, spoiler alert, in the end of the film, when the president says, oh, this man simply, we got locked behind a trapdoor and he saved my life. Why couldn't he have said that in the beginning? Literally, why?
Plot.
I know the answer is plot, but oh my God, to this day, that drives me nuts.
Yeah. And he had a copy of tomorrow's newspaper? What the fuck?
It's a nice nod to the conspiracy theory nature of Riley's book, though.
100% agree with you, though.
You almost have to assume that Ben has some sort of power that he can make people do his wishes, because the president...
Ben Gates, right?
Yeah, not me.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say it. Any Ben is deceitful and can trick you into doing anything or sell you anything.
Oof.
Yeah, even if you're the president, he can make you be the one that decides to go into the dark abandoned tunnels and tell his security guards to stay back.
So there's another leap in logic that is needed to be made in this one, and that's that one of the 3 or 4 people in the world that can read this Native American glyph is his mom.
Yep.
I had a hard time with that one.
I have an argument to be made that the first thing that she reads off of this glyph is bird. And my thought process is that if she got the word bird from looking at this plank, the symbol for bird must have been a picture of a bird. So I don't know how much they needed her to like translate this, or they could have put it together a little better. I don't know.
So let's take this back a little bit further, because I have problems not only with just the fact that she's able to translate it, the convenience that his mom is somebody that can translate it, but let's go back to the fact that the only reason she gets the opportunity to translate it is because Ben, in a moment of apparent need, because nobody's phone has a camera at that time of the movie, decides to, while driving, run a red light and hold it up in front of his face, and relies on that quality image in a moving vehicle at a red light.
Right? In 2007.
In 2007, that camera is going to be good enough. Well, I don't know about that.
That's clever.
But that took me right out of it.
Oh,
even prior to that, the chase scene itself was absolute trash.
Okay, I'll get on board with that.
Aubrey is really into that chase scene, guys, but I completely agree with you. I think the chase scene was terrible.
The funnier part of this is that Emily thinks I love chase scenes, and I don't care. This is another conserved motif on our show that just keeps happening, and I just go with it. But no, the one thing I will say about this chase scene that I do respect it for is the fact that it was the biggest chase scene ever shot in England at the time. And the amount of choreography that went into it, there's actually a really great behind the scenes video online on YouTube. If anyone likes chase scenes and want to see how this was done, all of the different moving parts, the actual choreography practice route, and the tools that they use to make the beer barrels explode and the cab tip over and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool if you like behind the scenes Hollywood type of stuff. So check that out.
I love that shit.
I mean, okay, so the chase scene for me, it kind of falls apart when Abigail's screaming, or who's driving? I forget. Was it Nick Cage driving?
How could you possibly forget that hilarious bit where Riley tries to drive and hops in the left side of the car? And oh my gosh, we're in England.
Okay. Yeah. So Nick Cage is driving and somebody's like screaming at him to go faster, and there's just pedestrians in front of them. So that was where I was like, I would have turned around as a driver and been like, all right, I'm not running anybody over. But I think it's clever that they use the traffic cams for that. Like, I felt like that was a fun little device, whereas it might have not been practical. But nothing in these movies needs to be airtight for it to work.
It's definitely more entertaining than just taking a picture on a cell phone camera. It puts Riley's skills to use again, too, because he has to hack into the police database.
If there had been a logic for the rest of the movie where they didn't have cell phone cameras, I would have been totally fine with that. But as soon as they get in to the Oval Office, he, in a pinch where they're playing that classic game of, oh, I dropped my earring, let's go look on the other side of the room for a couple minutes
Classic
where I wasn't
game.
even at before. Yeah, then Ben has a cell phone camera. So
I'm really curious, what of the stuff in this movie is based on something that's real?
A lot, actually.
So, Book of Secrets?
It's based there. Okay, it's a true conspiracy.
Oh, you should listen to our episode on
Yeah,
this.
we have a really solid episode on this, but it's based on a real legend, but there is some belief that the legend is based on the president's daily briefing, which is a real thing and has existed over time throughout history. But a lot of it actually is based on, at least to some degree, on real stuff.
Not like you're going to go and find drawers in a desk. Like, I mean, you will find drawers in a desk, but like maybe not like a Chinese puzzle box of drawers in a desk.
But yeah, like the HMS Resolute, that whole thing was true. The Esteban, the slave, and the story about him and Cibola is true. Geographically, they took some liberties. We could talk about that later. But yeah, a lot of points. The timing of puzzle boxes and their use in Asian countries and in Europe fits with Queen Victoria. Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff.
And Mount Rushmore?
Mount Rushmore?
No. That was mine. No.
But, Emily, you have to do it justice. Temporally, it was built in an appropriate time to fit with the rest of the movie's events.
Oh, yes. I should note that I've been criticized by my co-host for being too literal when it comes to whether or not these things are true or false.
Not true or false. Inspired by reality. Inspiration has a very specific meaning.
did anybody else immediately when they are on some lawn trying to get into the Oval Office, there's a child that meets Ben and has a very confrontational argument about, hey, you're the guy who helped assassinate Lincoln. Did anybody else just think that was a representation of QAnon?
Can't say that I did.
No, I did not.
I just thought that the kid was like a little bit of an asshole.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's not what you said.
This movie also brings back another character from the first movie, which is the federal agent Sadusky.
Why?
Should he be in this movie? I guess is my question.
He's the only one that reads Riley's book.
That's true.
He is.
That's true.
Okay. Anyone who's listened to our show knows that I have very strong feelings about Agent Sadusky. They are all extremely negative feelings. I think he's dumb. I think he's bad at his job. I think he's just a plot device to like loop you back in case you ran to the bathroom in the middle of the movie and kind of came back and don't know where you are. Because he's always stating the obvious in really annoying terms. In this movie, though, I start to question whether he's secretly on their side. And I've got to admit that this notion first popped into my head based on one of the National Treasure superfans that we've talked to on our show before, who points out, maybe he's not actually that dumb. Maybe he's always intentionally a couple of steps behind or letting Ben escape, etc., because he's a Freemason. And we know from the first movie that's really central to all of this. But this time around, if you watch the deleted scenes from Book of Secrets, there is a scene in the Library of Congress when he's chasing Ben down after he's quote unquote kidnapped the president. And he can see Ben sort of in the rafters. He sort of knows where he is. And you see in the deleted scene, Sadusky wiping his Ben's fingerprints off of a doorknob.
Oh my goodness.
Love
Crazy,
it.
right? But I still hate Sadusky.
Nobody leaves unless I say so. That door's not going to stay open by itself. We both know what has to happen here, Ben. One of us keeps the door open and stays behind. I vote Mitch.
Ben's dad takes the picture of the plank from the Book of Secrets to Emily to translate, but Mitch is there hiding to hear the transcription. They all go to Mount Rushmore to find the City of Gold and find Mitch, who has kidnapped Emily. Mitch helps them find the entrance, and they find the City of Gold, but it begins to flood with water. In order to escape, one of them has to stay behind, and it ends up being Mitch. Ben clears his family name and reunites with Abigail.
I just want to point out that I think maybe a few minutes before Emily gets kidnapped by Mitch, I go, what is he going to do? Kidnap the other parent like in the first movie?
Look at you.
Yeah.
There was another part of this this scene at Mount Rushmore that's always bugged me. And it was somehow Ben knew to find his mom with Mitch there. And it was based on this hummingbird reference back before Mitch actually kidnapped the mom. She had to give Ben a fake clue, and she said, release the hummingbird. And it was just never addressed again in the movie, which always drove me nuts. But it is addressed in a deleted scene. And that's how the hummingbird reference is how Ben knew that Mitch had his mom and how he knew he had to get there quickly, etc.
He could have figured it out by the first movie.
That too.
If only he had watched the first movie or been part of it.
Or read Riley's book.
If only he had read Riley's book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny that you bring that up, that it was a very glossed over point of this movie, because I think it was right about that time when Ed Harris is threatening his mom to say, like, tell him anything but the truth. And then all of a sudden they're in the same place again. And in my mind, that those scenes are back to back. So I could truly care less about what that deleted scene was, because I was like, yeah, okay, they were going to get there eventually. Like, I didn't. I'm happy to save 15 minutes of my life not to have to watch him reason through what hummingbird means.
That's fair. The deleted scene is in itself multiple minutes long, so you did save some time.
God, I would have given anything to see Ed Harris be just a smart guy at any point. You know, he's just a dumbass stumbling his way throughout the entire movie, you know, kidnapping people and stealing information. And I don't know, he didn't seem like a worthy adversary at all. And then like his climax, like I was like, this guy's a little bitch. Like, I don't know.
So, Matt, you feel like he doesn't deserve any credit for finding the treasure?
No, I mean, like, okay, so like Nick Cage or Ben Gates is he's an admirable man, so he's going to hold to his word. So when he said he was going to hold the door for him to help him try to get out, I knew he was being like serious. So I felt like if he didn't, this movie, it wouldn't have been what I would consider like good. You know, it's like a popcorn flick. If he didn't, like, he's like, fuck that guy. Like, I would have been like, okay, like, that's kind of shitty of you, Ben Gates. So I like that he did that.
I think in terms of Ben Gates, like, he kind of owes Mitch a life debt at this point. Like, and if it's just allowing him name recognition for finding the treasure, even though Mitch really didn't have anything to do with finding the treasure, like, the reason Gates is able to get out and report that the treasure was found is because of Mitch.
Yeah, and it builds his character too, that like he doesn't care about the credit. He cares about the actual pursuit of it. So it helps build his character out a little bit more.
That was going to be my exact point about any reason why Ed Harris deserves some credit was because he did save some lives. But as I kind of just in my own mind, since Aubrey, you brought it up earlier, I've been thinking about it a little bit, and he caused so many situations prior to that should have killed someone else if it hadn't been for them being lucky or smart or talented enough to do so. So the fact that Ed Harris even saves people, big deal. Like, if it weren't for you, they probably would have gotten through this a lot quicker and smarter, and
they could have worked together the whole film.
Exactly.
And been friends, you know?
I tend to agree with you. We came to the conclusion that the only thing really justifying him getting some credit for the treasure is the fact that his family did have that Booth diary page for so many years, and that was a clue that really launched this. But as we see later on, he also had a letter that had more clues in it, the letter from Queen Victoria to General Albert Pike. However, that clue is far less consequential, in my opinion, because Ben sort of figured out the full letter.
Well, because it was in the
book.
So it wasn't even like a unique opportunity for someone to have that secret.
And because I didn't even remember that it was a thing that happened. So
same.
Was there a deleted scene where they found Ed Harris's body in the City of Gold?
No, but there was an alternate ending where John Voight's character was going to be stabbed. He was going to be stabbed.
By
what?
Probably wouldn't test well.
By Ed Harris.
By gold.
What?
There's only gold in there.
By gold.
Oh, wait, he did find a knife. I do remember that.
Yeah, he finds the knife in the corpse.
Does anyone else, I have two gripes about the end of Mitch Wilkinson here. One, when he was holding the door open, this very quick change of opinion, like first I'm literally going to kill someone if you don't let me out first. And then all of a sudden, no prompting, just tell them I found it. Everyone could die or it could just be me. And he's dead. Like very weird character turn right there that always annoys me. And then the other thing, his motive, guys, his motive. I just wanted to make my family's mark on history. Weak motive, in my opinion.
Definitely. And it shifts throughout the movie. It seems like it's like he wants money and then he wants credit and then he wants money and then credit again. It's very wishy-washy. His
Ben,
character.
you had a reaction to that. Do you have feelings about his
I'm
motive?
just trying to think. Like, you always hear about like men wanting their name to mean something and to have a legacy. So I'm trying to rectify that with like my own feelings about that. So yeah, I was kind of lost in my own head there.
Fucking white men.
Yeah, thank God Ben's not a treasure hunter.
So I do want to know how Ben clears his family name, because I was a little lost about this whole, Thomas Gates was part of the Confederacy and was a part of the scheme to kill Lincoln. And then suddenly he wasn't, because we found the gold. What just happened?
There's definitely a big leap there. This is very loose, but this is what it's supposed to be.
And before you continue, let me note that I, at this point, have the same question that M does. And I recorded this episode of the podcast already.
Yeah, so it's basically the fact that Thomas Gates has passed this story down, his son has passed this story down, that his father threw the Booth Diary pages into the fire to hide the city of gold, because if it falls into the Confederacy's hands, the Confederacy has just lost a civil war a couple days prior. If it falls into the Confederacy's hands, they could reignite the war and win. So that's the story that he's been passing down, is that he threw the pages into the fire to because this is leading to a city of gold.
To protect the Union. Got it.
Basically. But the whole thing here is if Mitch's allegations are true, all that was really said on those pages was that Gates was the artifix, the planner of the assassination. It has nothing to do with the City of Gold. So to prove the Gates family story, they have to find the fact that the City of Gold exists, and they do.
Yeah, that is so loose.
Agree.
I totally followed your answer, and I still don't know what happened.
That's the whole thing. The rationale behind the story is not a strong one, and it's one of the main reasons that I prefer the first movie to the second.
Well, there was supposed to be a third movie. Do we think it's going to be any better if it comes out ever?
I have high hopes. I don't know about y'all.
I think it will, because I think this National Treasure 2 reminded me a lot of Hangover 2, in that they tried to hit a lot of the same beats as the first one. And I think they've learned from that, and they're not going to try to skew as tightly to the structure of that first one. And we may get a truly unique telling of a new treasure hunt.
So you're saying that National Treasure 3 is going to be the equivalent of Hangover 3?
Yeah.
Is that a good movie?
Compared to Hangover 2, it is.
Yeah, and I feel like with that, it's like this is one of those sequels that happens so much later, where they have to just completely deviate from the standard plot that they might try to adhere to. So I'll be excited, and fingers crossed it's not going to be Godfather 3. And it's going to be good. I have high hopes as well.
We have been pitching National Treasure 3 ideas to Charles Seegers, the story writer. And so I can tell you with extreme confidence that if any of them even make a tiny appearance in the third film, you'll be hearing about it from us, because we're very proud of ourselves.
Well, it's supposed to be about page 47 from the President's Secret Book, right?
Heck yes.
So yeah, you're gonna hear us pitching some sequels then to this movie in our twits later.
So then we'll know if Charles listens to our podcast.
That's right.
You should be pitching them to Emily and myself, because the next time we talk to him, we can throw them into our list and give you all credit.
Well, you take notes when we start battling, because feel free to take these pitches straight to the source.
Take these pitches. Wesley, what did you see?
These are just a few of our incredible thoughts.
I had just like 1 or 2 or 30 observations this week. We don't always say it outright, but this wasn't my type of movie. So I had some problems. One of my first ones was, it's a really good thing that there wasn't any important information on the back of that first artifact that they found in Buckingham Palace, because this world has clearly made it so that every bit of information shows up either on the top or the front of whatever artifact they find. So that was just super lucky for them that he could just throw it out the window. Sneaking into Buckingham Palace wasn't even a bat of an eyelash for any of these characters, but the mention of breaking into the US Capitol deserved a music swell. And then they don't even have to sneak in. They just know a guy.
Well, to get into the White House, I feel like Ben has some notoriety now. He probably knows some important peeps in DC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they just
And
need Bill
Abigail.
Dunphy.
My final one is a little bit longer. So you're telling me that the Book of Secrets that only presidents are allowed to see, that confirms the biggest conspiracies in the world, is kept in a library. And if presidents want to get to it, they have to climb a ladder, clear a shelf, and open a locked hidden case. So with all of that information, let's just assume that that's on point. Got it. Now imagine Joe Biden sneaking away from Secret Service, grabbing a ladder in a library and climbing to the top shelf like a cat, pushing the entire shelf to the ground, then popping open the secret spot just to add a secret recipe for strawberry cheesequake blizzards to the Book of Secrets for future presidents.
Oh my God.
He'd be doing them a great service.
I'm not disagreeing with the motive. I just think that that's a hilarious visual.
Page 47 and a half right there.
The premise is supposed to be that every president can put it in a different place and only they know the location. But yeah, the Library of Congress part was totally just because they wanted to showcase the Library of Congress. That is one thing that these movies do well, which is shooting on location at some pretty incredible spots. And they really showcased the Library of Congress hard here.
I'm just imagining Trump keeping his Book of Secrets like on his bedside table next to his Calvin and Hobbes and Mad Libs.
Oh my God. Ben, you have a game for us, don't you?
I do. So I've been watching a lot of Billy on the Street recently, and I just love the games he plays with people. So we're gonna start doing games every week.
Okay! Game on! Game on! Game on!
Wesley, I'd like you to roll a die.
4.
Aubrey.
All right.
So Aubrey, you have an opportunity here to win a Twits point for the guests by winning my game. And this game this week is called National Treasure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say a celebrity's name, and you tell me if I think they are a national treasure or not.
If you think they are a national treasure.
Me. Yes.
This is a perfect Billy Eichner game. I approve.
Can I get 60 seconds on the clock, please?
How many do we have to get through?
60 seconds on
There's
the clock.
12.
Okay.
But all you got to do is say yes or no. Are they a national treasure or not?
Okay.
And away we go. Betty White.
Yes.
Correct. Gwyneth Paltrow.
No.
Correct. Denzel Washington.
Yes.
Correct. Shia LaBeouf.
Ooh. No?
Incorrect. Dick Clark.
Yes.
Incorrect.
Oh, no. Hard
Dakota
no.
Fanning.
Yes.
Incorrect. Tom Hanks.
Yes.
Correct. Beyonce.
Yes.
Incorrect. Ashton Kutcher.
Well, now I'm really confused. No.
Correct. Guy Fieri.
Yes.
Absolutely. Danny DeVito.
Yes.
Correct. Kim Kardashian.
No.
That's correct. How many did you get?
7.
Did you win? Yes, you won! Yay!
Oh my God.
What was the bar to pass?
You had to get half right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got really you got thrown to the wolves there, because all of those first 4 no's were Ben's most hated celebrities of all time.
Oh shit.
Which is crazy because one of them had a stroke and he's like good.
No, Dick Clark is not good, and his stroke does not forgive his badness.
Well, I'm glad we at least agree on Guy Fieri. He's
Yes.
truly a treasure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Math is a really cool thing. So get off your ass, let's do some math. Math, 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 math.
The math in this movie doesn't work for me.
Oh.
You know the very traditional calculus problem of the rate of water going into a tank and rate of water going out of a tank? Well, I was really interested in learning about to see if it seemed reasonable that this city of gold would have the water fill the whole tank and leave in that same amount of time where they were able to figure out. So I did a lot of calculus that I haven't done in years because I only teach algebra 2 and statistics sometimes. And figuring out the volume of the city of gold, I actually figured it out using some ratios of how tall Nicolas Cage is. And it just doesn't work out. It bothers me so much. So Ed Harris should have survived. He would have had plenty of time to go all the way back up to the top and just sit there and wait because they all would have come there anyway. He had plenty of water. He would have survived for at least 2 weeks. And because of movie magic, they would have been there right away. So the math in this doesn't fucking work, and I was really fucking pissed.
I actually applaud you so hard, and I cannot argue with a single thing that you just said. So,
Hey, Matt, you got a plot summary for us?
Yes, I do.
Well, pop up, buddy.
The less you do, the more you do. Let's see it pop up. Pop it up. That's not it at all.
A family takes a nice vacation at Mount Rushmore in the Black Hills to reconnect, where it's almost completely ruined by Ed Harris.
Okay.
Yes. Very nice.
It's the entire plot.
Not the character, Ed Harris.
You know, it's Ed Harris.
Emily, you have a review for us. And I know Aubrey has a rating. Emily, you want to share that with us?
Yes. So, the review that Aubrey and I came up with together for this film. In this adventurous tale of history, friendship, and family dynamics, Nick Cage reprises his most normal role to date in a treasure hunt that is most definitely not normal, because it's totally not that easy to convince White House staff to let you meander around the Oval Office to find a centuries-old hidden city made of solid gold. But of course, someone else is after the treasure. It is the axiom of treasure hunting after all. Trying to get to the treasure first, Cage and co. use all their travel points on pit stops in London and Paris while battling a southern gentlemanly foe who barely has a plan and just kind of wants to be famous. All because Nick Cage must clear the name of a very, very distant relative. Plus, we can only assume that he needs to find a second history-defying treasure because he spent his 0.5% of the Templar treasure on dinosaur skulls, random mansions, and other things that have bankrupted Nick Cage over the years. Have we mentioned this is probably a movie based very loosely on his life?
And we give this movie 3 out of 4 Mount Rushmore heads.
Which one's left out?
Yeah, gotta know.
Teddy Roosevelt, because he's the only one not relevant to this film and the franchise.
Or America.
Ooh.
Was he not the one in a wheelchair?
No, that was...
Oh, he was the boxer.
Yeah, his relationship with this film is national parks and Mount Rushmore. But, you know, Jefferson, Lincoln, George Washington, they're so integral to the National Treasure franchise that we just have to go there.
Okay, I need to know. We're redesigning Mount Rushmore. Get rid of Teddy Roosevelt. Who goes in? Emily?
Nick Cage.
Nick Cage, yes.
Acceptable.
Aubrey, you go. Is that your answer too?
Yeah, you took mine. That's not fair.
So I'm going to roll a die real quick to see who gets the pick first. Em, do you want to decide, Matt and Ben, who's odd and even?
Matt's odd.
Nat won, so Matt gets to pick first. So Matt, your choices are Jimmy Livingston, who is Bubble Boy, played by Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, okay.
I just watched that for the first time.
Caleb Smith, who is the guy who goes to hang out with the other guy in Ex Machina.
Okay,
the ginger?
That's not going to get picked.
And your third option is Regina George from Mean Girls.
I think I got to go with the Bubble Boy.
All right. So, Ben, your 3 options are Tug Speedman from Tropic Thunder, Alan from The Hangover, who is played by Zach Galifianakis, Or Emily, who's your character?
Indiana Jones.
I'm going Indiana Jones.
And now, it's time to uncover Battle of the Twits hidden treasures.
Ooh.
I will use a lemon and a light bulb to pose 3 rounds of questions to our overconfident Nick Cage wannabes and let them try to convince me who knows the third wife of the senator from Ohio who did not have a bedwetting problem from ages 5 to 8.
What?
The winner of each round will get 1 clue that you can probably just interpret however you want. Second place gets the same clue, but you don't know anybody that speaks that dead language.
Oh.
I expect the answers to be as brilliant as Ben Gates stated it in this movie. Water makes the rocks darker.
Oh my God.
So the bar is set pretty low. So Twits, are you ready?
Ready.
Yes.
Let's go.
Awesome. All right. So question 1. We all know that presidential secrets are probably a real put me to sleep kind of read. So what if somebody actually cool and interesting had a secret book? With the characters that you chose, I want you to tell us what juicy secrets are in their privately hidden book. And we're going to start with Ben, who chose Indiana Jones.
I did. So Indiana Jones's book is filled with secrets. So I'm just going to do a couple of the highlights. So page 13, Indiana Jones was, and forever will be a Nazi sympathizer. He battles with the other Nazis, though, because he sees himself as a super Nazi, which are even more like evil than just regular Nazis. Flip, page 27. Indiana Jones knew that Marion was underage, but that's not going to fucking stop him. He's Indiana fucking Jones. Flip. Page 43. Indiana Jones purchased Short Round from a slave trader, and he'll never free him because he believes that Short Round grants wishes after receiving belly rubs. Flip, page 69, which is, of course, the first one I checked. Indiana Jones murdered his son Mutt by removing his heart in his appeasement to his new god, Kali Ma.
Oh, no.
No, those are just some of the highlights, you know?
Oh, fuck. I might just win this one.
I'm speechless. Is this normally how this goes, guys?
Oh, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, it just depends on how much we drink.
I do have a question, Ben.
Okay. That wasn't answered already?
Definitely not. But how long is Indiana Jones's Book of Secrets? Because I got to page 69. I'm just curious, how far does it go?
It's a nice round 100. Like, he got to 100 and was like, I need to stop. Like, I need to stop spilling my secrets. This is where it ends.
Got it.
Did page 100 happen before Crystal Skull?
After, because him killing Mutt happens is page 69, and that happens after Crystal Skull.
Will he reprise the writing of the Book of Secrets when the new film that I hear is happening comes out?
Spoiler alert, like, we've already got his Book of Secrets, and Indiana Jones lives in the past. So the stuff that's in his Book of Secrets between page 69 and 100 is going to be in the movie.
Hey!
Yeah. You're going to be shocked by number 83. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Hashtag prayers for Short Round.
Did the page numbers have any relevance other than just random numbers?
Chronological.
Yeah, I love it.
You're the math whiz. Can you comment?
I'm not commenting on this at all.
Let's hop over to Matt then. So Matt, you chose Bubble Boy. So what is in Bubble Boy's secret book?
Okay, so before I start my real answer, I just want to say, holy shit, Ben and I chose 2 of the same page numbers in the same device of storytelling. I shit you not. You can go look at my Google Docs. It's up. So the Bubble Boy. He has an adult therapeutic coloring book that's been provided to him by his mom because he was closely monitored, and that's the only thing in which he can put his book of secrets. The secrets are kept in code, and only which he will know how to squint and how hard to squint and read the text because it's so carefully been colored over in which his secrets are kept. On page 1, that's all about where the plastic is sourced, the plans for the bubble, including the thickness, circumference, and anything he would ever need to remake his bubble or maybe even make a bubble for his son. On the 13th page is all of the information about the time he got to meet the Flaming Lips, and he gave him the idea to go into the crowd in a bubble. He kept detailed notes to document that it was actually his idea and that the Flaming Lips were really cool about it, but they insisted they could never talk about meeting them in real life. Flip, 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 flip. On page 27. There was just a bunch of information like his favorite animal, a giraffe, because of the special bubble it would require. His favorite color, clear, because bubbles are clear. And his favorite number, pi, 3.14, which is very important to the circumference and radius of a circle, or bubble, if you will. And then on the last page of the book is all about his neighbor and love of his life, in which he must hide from his overbearing mother.
Wow. Why did you stop doing the flipping?
Mid answer, I remembered Ben doing flip, 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 and I thought it would be a funny callback.
That was good.
Also, on page 29, the Bubble Boy was also a Nazi sympathizer.
Wow, crossover event.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I don't have any follow-ups. I think those were good answers. So we'll move on to question 2. Everybody that's listening right now, I just want everybody to know we've heard your feedback. We've heard all your positive suggestions. And it's time for a new type of question. I get it. So now I think this is...
We don't get any feedback.
No, that's the joke. I didn't even write this question, so I ad-libbed all that shit. So what better movie to launch a brand new question than Nat Trez Dose? So let's test out those rapid fire. So let's test out those rapid fire muscles. You two are going to go back to back with one-liners. And today, I want them all to be things that Benjamin Gates is going to do next. And with Emily deciding earlier that Matt is odds, I'm going to roll a die again. And it is a 9. So Matt, you're going to go first again. So let's go. Let's do this.
I'm excited. I hope you guys detect the theme with my answers. But okay, I'm going to try to put it in Nick Cage because I feel like that'll work best.
I'm going to do the same. Yeah.
I'm going to seduce and have sex with the President of the United States.
Wow. Okay.
Starting strong.
Yep. I'm going to use Reddit to hyperinflate the price of a cryptocurrency based on a meme.
I'm going to vandalize the Washington Monument of the United States.
I'm going to reignite interest in Gangnam Style.
I'm going to perjure the Supreme Court justices of the United States.
Yeah, you definitely got a theme. I'm going to invent a toothbrush for your butthole.
I'm going to burglarize the Grand Canyon of the United States.
You guys gotta give us a break to laugh, please.
I'm going to marry an Olsen twin so I can meet Vision and Dave Coulier.
I'm going to blackmail the King of England of the United Kingdom of Britain.
I'm going to be the first person to masturbate on every continent, just 3 to go.
Before we move on to our next, and before you guys have any questions for us, if at all, I want to create a website of Ben Gatesisms where it's just a random crime and then a historical landmark and then add United States. And that's a full website. That would be a hit.
Or, you know, those weird things on Facebook that's like, this is your name, this kind of way, but it's like, it starts with this letter, then it's this thing, or if it's this is your birthday, it's this thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just screaming for a Twitter bot. That's all I have to say.
I wrote 8 more, but I chose my favorite.
Well, I love them, though. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
But I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
You obviously didn't have a theme. I want to know your thought process.
My thought process, I was trying to get in the mind of Benjamin Gates and things that he would do and he'd be really interested in. And, he's got a really dirty butthole. He loves him some Gangnam Style. and he's already masturbated on 4 continents, but he wants to be the first to do all of them, you know.
I would really like to commend you, Ben, on your Nick Cage voice.
That's high praise.
I sincerely hope Nick Cage is not listening to the podcast, but if you are, apologies.
If you are, come on National Treasure Hunt, please.
Yes.
That was a fun new question. Thank you, Ben and Emily. Question 3. Even though this movie bends over backwards to make sure you know exactly why things are happening and what needs to happen next, I can't help but feel like I'm in the dark about one tiny detail that we aren't mansplained about. So, can you two men explain to me what happens on page 47? And we're going to start with Matt.
So on page 47, it's I wanted to draw something from my personal life that I personally believe. So I believe that on page 47, it's a crude drawing in crayon of a Jewish space laser that's pointed at California that started the wildfires. And yeah, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Which president wrote this?
It was the movie character from the movie for sure. Okay. It was his drawing.
Let's round robin this. Like, everyone ask a question. Go.
You guys are familiar with the actual QAnon, the representative from Georgia that actually said and believes this?
No.
Yeah. See, like I'm
okay. Yeah, this is a thing.
Aware.
This is a thing that somebody in Congress has said on record. So, yeah, I'm not just anti-Semitic for anti-Semitic purposes.
Yeah, what's the Jewish portion of it?
I mean, it's a conspiracy from Marjorie Taylor. It blames a Jewish space laser for starting all the wildfires in California. She's from Georgia, too. And, you know, God bless her because we elected her down here in Atlanta.
Okay, but the real question here is everyone knows that page 47 will lead to the plot of National Treasure 3. So what is the treasure?
Oh,
yes.
You know, I think the treasure in National Treasure 3 will be our nation's beauty and rediscovering a beautiful America that has been free of pollutants and of future carbon capturing technology.
Wow. So it's all the clues are really about solving social strife and climate change.
Right. And
Wow,
defeating the capitalist oil barons. Yes. 100%.
And all of your clues are about natural things that have grown and evolved over time. So there's no way that they can be consistent over the past 500 years to lead us down this deep historical rat race of clues.
That's 100% correct. Yes, you're correct.
Okay, so your movie sucks. Got it.
Whoa. Your opinion, bro.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it is.
I have one more question, and I would like you to please describe for me, besides in crayon, exactly what does this picture look like in crayon? Like, give me some colors, give me the visual. I need to see this.
Okay, so we have a basic cylindric with a triangle object up top, and then a big red, just very crude red, you know, very angrily drawn red down at the ground of California, which is, it's only California. And you just see California, all the trees drawn in, the little Bob Ross trees drawn in, the little happy trees.
They're happy trees, yeah.
Not all of them.
Not anymore.
Okay. Some of them are angry trees, very fiery red angry trees. And, you know, I think that just speaks volume to the patriot, Marjorie Taylor, for just bringing this to life.
All right, we're going to move on. Ben, can you tell us what's on page 47?
Guys, there's another moon behind the moon. And I'll take questions now.
Let's go, Ben. Solidarity and shitty question 3. Let's go.
Okay, that's not how line of sight works. So, are the two moons attached?
No. It has a perfect orbit around Earth that exactly matches the moon, but just is a little bit off. and a little bit longer in its revolution, so
but
that
the
it's always
moon
behind
also
the moon.
rotates.
Well, rotation doesn't matter. What does that matter?
Yeah, Wes, remember that little GIF Emily sent us from the first person hardcore Henry? Like the moon's on the other side of the camera.
Thanks, Matt.
I can't believe you just absolutely solidified Ben's answer for me with that comment, because that was the perfect answer.
I do have a couple questions.
Okay.
My first question is, who discovered that there is another moon? And second is, what did they name it?
So it was actually discovered during the Calvin Coolidge presidency, and that's why it's called Calvin Cool Moon.
Oh, damn. I wanted it to be called the Moon too.
I wanted Nick Cage to have discovered it.
I mean, he kind of did because he found page 47. So, like,
Sure.
he will go there in National Treasure 3 to discover the galactic treasure that is present on that second moon.
But as discussed, Ben Gates spends all of his, because Ben Gates is Nick Cage, he has spent all of his treasure. So how the heck is he going to get to the moon? He doesn't have money to get there.
Did you not see the end of the movie where he's buddy-buddy with the president? The president is sending his ass there because the president knows there's additional clues on the moon that Ben Gates is needed for.
But we are multiple administrations away from that president at this point.
Yeah, well, but I mean, Ben Gates is not someone that is easily forgotten by the presidency. Like the president, told the next one at the inauguration, like, "Hey, this Ben Gates motherfucker, like, you need him on your side."
Well, also, he now knows what's on the page, so, like,
Right.
you gotta keep him in the loop at this point.
Absolutely,
it's true.
Thank you, Emily.
Who originally hid the treasure on the moon?
It's an alien treasure. It's a galactic treasure. Like we were the first nation to find that second moon. We were not the first beings to find that second moon. Like this moon is already inhabited by other alien beings that we have befriended. Like, you think we went to the moon in 1969 and just the one moon? No, we went to the second fucking moon. And that's why we haven't been back, is because we can't keep going back or people are going to get suspicious. Like, what the hell's up there? Like, fuck you. You're never going to know because it's aliens.
And that's how we know about the real moon landing and the existence of aliens also, which appear in the president's secret book. Everything makes sense now.
It's all internally logical.
Self-consistent.
Well put.
I'm convinced, and I don't think there are any possible other questions we could ask.
How could there be? I mean, Aubrey can't ask questions because she knows things. And I'm really worried that
for her safety.
Yeah,
sure.
for her safety, she can't ask too many questions because
Let's move on for
she
Aubrey's
knows
sake.
that I speak truth.
All right, so this has been
This is pretty
happening.
easy.
Emily's wrong, and speaking out of school, this has been happening a little bit more and more as Matt's been getting a little bit better with being good at this game. So
yeah.
This was
Matt, don't get too excited. It's called the compliment sandwich. The hammer's going to drop here in a little bit.
I won 1 and 2. You lost 3. I'm speaking for Wes. All right.
So we are going to start with question 2. So question 2 was the back and forth one-liners. That was new question, totally different format, very interesting, very hilarious. I think, Ben, you had some extremely hilarious ones. Toothbrush for the butthole, hilarious. Reddit, crypto coin. Yeah, you had some really, really strong ones there. But I think Matt pulled away a little bit with this one for coming up with basically a perfect name generator with a crime, a location, and then adding United States at the end. Every time Matt said one, it made the one before it even funnier. So I got to give that one to Matt. So then we'll go to question 3. Question 3 was about what is on page 47. Matt, you had basically no answer. Ben,
what?
You had basically no answer.
What?
So this one definitely came down to the ad lib, and
It's
one
a book
of you
of secrets, Wesley. We can't divulge everything right off the bat. It's
one
a
of
fucking
you
book of
did
secrets.
better than the other.
Yeah, I did better. Just give me the fucking point and we'll move on.
Okay, Ben won. Next.
Thank you.
So anyway, on question 3, Matt, I did really enjoy that when we asked you what the treasure was, that you said it was our national beauty.
Sure.
So
Beautiful.
well done there. But what really pushed me over, of course, was Ben saying that the treasure is hidden on the moon, which I really enjoy because I'm a big fan of the Fast and Furious franchise. And I think that that's the same kind of like escalation of the stakes in each sequel movie. It's like, all right, now it's South Los Angeles. Next, it's California. Next, it's the United States. Next, it's the world. Next, it's space. So yeah, I really like Ben's with an alien treasure that is of galactic importance. So to question 1, which I think was the closest, I think we can all agree was the closest. Indiana Jones versus Bubble Boy in what is in their Book of Secrets. Indiana Jones building up over the entire franchise of being a Nazi sympathizer, but only because he thinks he's better than the other Nazis, is a very hilarious take on why someone would support Nazism, but also fight them. Purchasing Short Round and because he thinks Short Round will give wishes after belly rubs. Like that's just a very strong visual that I like. But Matt had some just very delicious, like hyper details of a giraffe being his favorite animal because it would make a weird bubble, and clear is his favorite color because he lives in a clear bubble, and 3.14 being his favorite number because his life is a bubble. So those points were really what put it over for me for Matt to win question 1. Again, that was a tight one, but I think Matt just kind of nailed it more as
the character itself.
Yeah, exactly.
He would actually write down.
Exactly. So excellent job, Matt, which I think this is your official second win ever in episode.
Let's go.
Episode 40.
Now that was a compliment put down sandwich, Ben. As they say.
No, well done, both of you, but especially well done, Matt. Those were good answers.
Yeah, Ben did a great job too, and solidarity in question 3. We messaged each other and we were like, let's not try on question 3.
That's not how that went down. But
how did it go down?
Matt called me and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna do one sentence and then just open it up for questions. Will you do that too?" And I'm like, "Sure, we can do that."
Is that normally how this goes?
No,
that's new.
No. A little more effort goes into question.
We had a hell of a week when it comes to editing because of some technological fuck ups last episode we did. So we need a little break.
Emily, Aubrey, thank you so much for being on. Please plug the podcast again, and then anything else you guys would like to.
Thank you for the opportunity. We really enjoyed being here with you all today. This has been a blast. We are, again, from the National Treasure Hunt podcast. So anyone who liked this episode or likes the National Treasure film franchise or just likes a blast from the past and thinking really hard about really weird things associated with exactly 2 movies should really check us out. We're in the middle of our 2nd season right now, in which we're actually talking in excruciating detail about Book of Secrets. And yeah, we got a lot of fun content there. Emily, my lovely co-host, is the one who does our social media shout outs, so she can tell you where to find us online.
Yes, you can find us at NT Hunt Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find us at National Treasure Hunt on all of your streaming services, Apple, Spotify. Be a little more hipster, go to that SoundCloud app or website, and go ahead, rate, subscribe, review, do all the things you can, and interact with us on social media so that we can answer your questions and get to know you more.
Yeah. And be sure to tag Nick Cage and also
let's make this happen.
Their show. Let's make this happen because I would love to see that future episode.
Oh, thanks, guys.
And, if you're still listening, thank you so much. Be sure to rate us 5 stars, subscribe, share it with a friend. We appreciate all that support. And be sure to follow us on social media at IDYP_podcast on all social media. Ben, what is our next movie that we're watching?
Yeah, the next movie we're watching is Wild Hogs, and we will be having on a surprise guest, which is producer code for we got no fucking idea who's coming on, but someone's coming on, and they're going to be great. So you should check them out.
Check them out, folks.
Last Disney movie.
Yeah.
Well, for a while. We got a lot of Disney movies in 2007.
Goodbye, everyone. This was fun.
Yep. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for being on.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.